Some have said that the direction of your focus is the direction of your life. For the Christian, our focus is crystal clear. We are to look to Jesus, the author and the finisher of our faith. In every area of life, we are to lay aside the hindrances of our Christian journey and look to Christ as our example and strength to live the life He has called us to live. So today, let's starve our distraction and feed our focus on the Lord Jesus Christ. Welcome to the Walk Talks podcast and today's Friday Focus episode.
Welcome back to the Southland Ladies Edition podcast. I am especially excited about this podcast because we have my sister, my older sister, Alyson Hanson, is here with us today. If you didn't know, yes, she is my oldest sister. Alyson, I'm super excited that you're here. Emily and I are kind of excited to hear your story and how you got to Southland. So can you kind of tell us a little bit about your backstory, where you grew up, even though I already know, the family you grew up in, and what the Lord's done in your life?
Well, I am super excited to share with you that my story and just to hang out and talk about kind of how the Lord's brought me to where I am. Yes, I am the oldest of 10 kids. And so I'm the oldest, and then Emily is the third born. I grew up in Ohio. Then when I was 18, I went to Bob Jones, and then my family ended up moving down to Greenville during my senior year of college, and that's where they still live. I grew up in a Christian home, and I'm super, super thankful for just the godly influences in my life. And I understood salvation at a really young age. I got saved when I was almost 5, but I don't have a lot of memories of that day just because I was so young. But I do know that there was growth in my life from the time that I was 5 really into my teenage years. But I did struggle with doubts, just not having remembered exactly what happened. And so when I was 16, one of the summers that I went to camp, I kind of got assurance of my salvation and just kind of re-solidified that I wanted to live for God with my life and that I did believe that Jesus has died on the cross for me, and kind of got that solidified to the point where I really haven't struggled with doubts about my salvation since then. I recognize that I probably was saved all the way up until that point, but I kind of rededicated my life when I was 16 and really haven't looked back.
What did you study at Bob Jones?
I studied piano pedagogy, and I always kind of had the dream of using that as a means of support to my family. I really always wanted to be a stay-at-home mom, so that kind of fit along with my dreams and still allowed me to kind of get an education that I could fall back on if needed to.
That's amazing. Okay, so now we all really want to know, how did you and Erik meet? I think we know you met at Southland. Could you tell us the story of that?
Yes, Erik and I met at Southland, and when I was summer staff. Our story is one of divine intervention and God's sovereignty, because we met when I was 19 and Erik was 21. He had a lot of things going on in his life at the time, and I, being the oldest of 8 girls in my family, there was a big learning curve in that situation. So after a summer of getting to know each other, we took a step back, and we actually both went to Bob Jones. So we went back to school, but we weren't talking at all. I was a sophomore and he was a senior. And then we went that whole year, I sought to just build my relationship with my parents and just have some godly friends. And he kind of lived his own life. And then I went to the Wilds in the summer of 14. And at the end of that summer, my dad called me and said, "Hey, Erik Hanson called me this week and he wants to kind of start over and see where it goes." And I was really excited about that because I really hadn't met or been interested in anyone else over the course of that year. So I was thankful to be able to kind of start over with a better foundation and with my parents being involved. So we kind of got to know each other for 4 or 5 months. And then we started dating in January of 2014. We got engaged in August of 2015. And then we got married in 2016.
Through that whole story, you can hear camp is very prevalent from the
correct.
Wilds, from you meeting at Southland, from even both of you attending camp as, kids and teenagers. So tell us a little bit about how you guys even got to Southland and what that story is.
Yes, camp has been a part of our life pretty much forever. Erik grew up going to the Wilds. He was a camper at the Wilds for like probably 10 years, all the way from junior boot camp all the way up through high school. And I always loved camp as well. And I came here actually in 2012 and 2013 as summer staff. And then I went to the Wilds in 2014, 2015, and 2016. Really, camp has always been a passion of mine. But after we got engaged in 2015, we didn't have an opportunity to go to camp right away. We did know that we wanted to be in full-time ministry, but we weren't sure exactly what that looked like. The Lord really allowed me to fulfill a dream of mine, because in October of 2015, Mark Herbster called Erik and asked him if we would be willing to travel with them after we got married. And that was something I had always wanted to do. It wasn't necessarily a dream of Erik, so that was an interesting way that the Lord worked, because it was definitely a growing experience for us. The Lord allowed Erik to learn how to lead singing while we were doing that, and we were able to do the children's ministry, and I was able to accompany on the piano, and I enjoyed doing that immensely. And then we did that for about a year. At the end of that year, well, let me back up, because we came to Southland actually as a married couple in 2017, the summer. And Erik loved it. He enjoyed it so much, and he actually wanted to stay. They needed someone to do grounds at the time, and Mike had asked him to consider doing that, and he was ready to commit. But we had committed to 2 years on the road at that time, and so we couldn't commit to it right then, which I was glad about, because I liked traveling. And I actually had a hard summer that summer. I worked really long hours, and I did an office job, and I didn't really see Erik a lot, which, we had been together literally every day of our first year of marriage. We worked together and we were off together every day. So that was definitely something I had to kind of get accustomed to. And I had kind of thought maybe we would be on the road for a little bit longer. But Erik really wanted to come here. So at the end of that summer, when we left here, we took our fifth wheel trailer and we drove cross country to the next church that we were going to be at. And we actually wrecked the trailer. It got totaled in an accident. And that was a big part of the Lord changing my heart in order to allow me to recognize that my desire to be on the road had more to do with my comfort and more to do with how fun it was than really actually a calling. Because once we lost the trailer, I was like, oh yeah, we should go to Southland now, because like it's not fun to stay in homes, and we don't have our own space anymore. And it definitely got harder, and that really showed me that I was really clinging to the fun parts and not necessarily because it was something the Lord actually, wanted me to do. And so we stayed in homes, which was a really good experience. We had some great host families, and we enjoyed our time doing that. We did that for about 5 months, and then the Lord allowed us to come here full time, and we transitioned from off the road. And that was really, Erik was meant to do that. I was so thankful to see him just flourish. He loved his job right away. I worked hospitality when we first got here, and really, really grew through that, and super, super thankful to be able to work full time at a place that we had both loved and where we had met. And that was really fulfilling a dream for us, for sure.
So would that have been 2018?
Yes, we moved here in the spring of 2018.
Okay. And Erik started as grounds.
Yes. I'm sure people know, but like camp work is always kind of evolving. Yes. And over time, Erik kind of developed his position, and he was the ops staff guy supervisor. And then eventually he started kind of doing projects, which he had really never done before. And he quickly learned that he loves working with his hands. And yeah, he became the project manager. Within a couple of years, he started doing most of the projects.
Well, we certainly love having you guys at Southland and love having Erik and his expertise in all of the building projects. I can speak from experience. The new coffee shop is amazing, and a lot of that is because of Erik Hanson and all of his work and oversight in building that. And it's really neat to see how God has gifted Erik exactly for that calling and that place. And the timing, the Lord's timing in that is amazing to see.
Absolutely. And really, camp is one of the ways that Erik was able to find what he's good at, which is amazing. Yes. This ministry has really helped him to develop what he didn't even know he had.
I wanted to mention Erik's major at Bob Jones was business. Is that right?
Yes. Yes. Actually, he started out as a biology major. He wanted to be a doctor at first.
What?
Yep. And I always tell him I would never have married a doctor, so good thing you switched your major.
So I think it's really cool that, he has a business degree, but here he is, building things every day. And he uses that degree, but just probably not in the way that he thought he would.
For sure. He uses the math. He tells me all the time. Yeah.
Right.
He uses the math that he learned. He moved from biology to he wanted to be an accountant, and then he ended up graduating with a business admin degree. And then when we got here, he was like, I should have been an electrician. I should have gone to trade school, So it's amazing that the Lord has been allowed him to kind of go to school again without actually going to college again.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's neat to hear you talk about your dream of being a stay-at-home mom and teaching piano, because that's what you do now. You have a piano studio, and then you also have 3 little girls. So
for sure.
I know, it's super cool that you have a piano studio. That gives you a really neat outlet into the community.
Yes. And that is something that I really treasure. Actually, the Lord was amazing in allowing that to happen, because over the course of the first couple years that we were here, I had never really expected to work for more than 9 months because I kind of wanted to get pregnant right away and start a family. And really, because the Lord didn't allow that to happen, he actually allowed me to start the piano studio earlier than I would have. And so that was kind of, as I've continued in my motherhood journey, and as we've been here longer, I've kind of realized that was God's sovereignty all along, because I don't think I would have the outlets to the community if I had automatically become a stay-at-home mom. And I kind of found purpose in teaching really for those years before I had Ellie. So
can you share a little bit about your sweet little girls?
Yes.
My nieces that I love.
Yes, for sure. Yes, we have 3 girls, Eliana Rose and Audra May and Lacey Bay. People always give us a hard time that the middle names of the younger 2 rhyme, but we didn't do that on purpose. It was just the way that the Lord did it. But yeah, my journey becoming a mother was a bit of a learning experience for me. In the fall of 2018, we had a miscarriage, and that was difficult, but it was definitely just something that, I had kind of thought like, oh, lots of people, have miscarriages. So now that I've done that, I've gotten that over with and I can move forward. I don't think I really necessarily allowed the Lord to do what he could have done through that. I just kind of moved on from it and didn't think about it much. Then I got pregnant again, and it was going really well. We had several ultrasounds and heard the heartbeat and really just felt like, okay, we're on the right track now. And then during the summer of 2019, we went to our anatomy scan and there was no heartbeat. And that was really, really hard for us because, well, first of all, it was during summer, which is a tough time for you to go through anything traumatic, but also just recognizing that the Lord has a different plan than maybe we would have expected. Mm-hmm. And it was definitely hard to know that I was going to have to be induced and deliver the baby. But in the end, that was really a gift because I got to deliver and I got to see our baby boy, and we named him Jonathan because that means gift. And we really always thought of him as a gift. And after he was born, we were like, you know what? That didn't change just because we only got to have him for 20 weeks. And the Lord taught me so much through that. And that was a super hard season because, and really even until now, because I've gone back to the birth of that boy multiple times over the course of time and just wondered why God hasn't given us another little boy. But I'm super, super thankful for the gifts that he has given us. And in 2020, we were able to have our little girl. We named her Eliana Rose because we really believe that God had answered. Eliana means God answers. And God had answered a prayer through that we had prayed, and we had really had a time of discouragement where we kind of thought, oh no, maybe this isn't going to happen. But the Lord really taught us a lot through that. And since then, he's given us 2 more girls, which is amazing. And we would not trade them at all. Actually, we were just talking the other day, and little Lacey had just wrapped her arms around Erik's neck and given him a hug. And he said, I wouldn't want her to be a boy. You know, she's the perfect little girl. And I was so thankful for that, because the Lord just knows exactly what you need. And even when you think you know what's best, the Lord just has a better and bigger plan than what you could really even imagine. So I'm so thankful for my little girls, and I'm so thankful for the ability to be a stay-at-home mom. Ellie is 5, going on about 15. She's always acting older than she is, and takes a lot of responsibility for being only 5. And then Audra is 3. She's my little imaginative wanderer. She never really knows where she's going or where she's been, but she's very cute. And then Lacey is a determined little fireball. She is 1.5, and we love her to death. She's quickly getting into what you would call the training time in children's lives, the terrible twos, but we're so thankful for what the Lord's given us through them.
I've loved getting to know your daughters. They are genuinely fun to be around. And I think for children that young, that speaks very highly of your parenting. So I'm curious, as a young mom myself, how did you really foster that good attitude and that good spirit, especially towards spiritual things from a young age? How did you foster their love for the Lord? They may not be saved yet, I know that, but how can you encourage young moms to do that in their children's lives?
Well, that is a good question, because I have often contemplated the answer to it over time. I don't feel like I'm very far in my motherhood journey. I actually told somebody today, I just said, I feel like I'm still a new mom, and I know I've been doing this for 5 years, but I still feel like I'm new at it. But probably people that have been moms longer say that too, because I think the older you get, the more you realize you don't know everything. 2 things that kind of came to mind when you said that I think have been really impactful in my life is, number 1, just being intentional about bringing every question about life back to who God is. And that can be anything from, like, what do lizards look like, to, what's the difference between God and Jesus? I mean, really, just the wide spectrum of questions you get from a 3 and 5-year-old is quite amazing. Even recently, I've noticed in conversations with Ellie, we're deeply discussing the Trinity right now. That's a big thing in Ellie's mind right now. And that's kind of showed me, like, okay, what do I actually know about the Trinity? Like, you say, like, okay, it's 3 persons in one, and, but like to a 5-year-old, that's really complicated. And that's showed me really how I need to get into God's word. And I need to have an answer ready. This verse comes to mind all the time, having an answer ready to every man that asketh you a reason of the hope that's in you. When I think of that verse, I don't think of children, but I think really, especially for a young mom, that's really where I live. Having an answer for the questions about life that just really baffle little kids, and bringing those things back to who God is showing them and making it obvious to them that God is at the center of everything. He's above all, he's in all, and we have to submit to the authority of God. And so I think that's one thing. And then the second thing is really just a practical thing. Surround your kids with people that have your values. And my parents did that. And I'm so thankful, because there were a lot of adults in my life that were showing me as a child, the same thing that my parents were teaching. And I've already seen the value of that in my kids' lives, because they are around people that believe the same things I believe. And they're asking questions to those people. Just last week, one of Ellie's mentors came to me and said, hey, Ellie was asking questions about this, and this is how I answered her. And that gives me a window into knowing, okay, you know what? She's asking other people things, and she's getting the same response, because I believe the same thing that person believes. And I think that's so valuable, because that gives a child a well-rounded perspective, and kind of, in everyone's testimonies, there's going to be little nuances and differences, and that can connect with your child differently than you do. And so I've seen a lot of value in that over the course of even just the 5 years that I've been parenting, and I have been encouraged, even just recently, at the people that she trusts, I want to trust those people too. I don't want to be nervous about the people she's trusting in. And that's something that I'm so, so thankful for, that we live in a community that's full of people that I trust and that I also agree with.
I think that is so important, and it just goes to show that your child's influences, like they're just so important for developing even just your, Ellie's not saved yet, but she is developing
really her worldview.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that does have a lot to do with the people around her and who she's influenced by. Maybe not another 5-year-old, but the adults that she's around.
Well, I will even say even her little friends. She has a couple friends that recently got saved in the past year, and they have conversations, like real conversations about the gospel. And that's, a 6-year-old, I'm a little nervous about leading her to the Lord, but at the same time, like, I'm so thankful that she has even friends in her life that have parents who believe like I do.
Yes.
And, she can come home and say, Vivi said she got saved. What does saved mean?
Yeah.
And that's just a cool opportunity that I'm really thankful for.
Yeah. So kind of jumping off of that, your girls obviously live at camp.
Yes.
And so they're surrounded by, college students a lot during the summer.
Yes, for sure.
So how do you feel like that's benefited your girls?
Well, there's definitely some big pros to living in a camp atmosphere. I'm so thankful to live on the campsite. That's a really big deal to me. Just having the opportunity to live in a really safe place for little kids, and an opportunity to live somewhere that ministry is really close by. And as they grow up, it's really important to me that they're able to serve really in whatever way is needed or necessary, to just have a firsthand experience of what ministry is. So those are huge pros. And I love that we get to have opportunities to hang out with college students every summer. That's a highlight, especially since I loved being summer staff. I love being in the position of being able to invest like I was invested in. That's a big deal to me. But there are pros and cons to having your little kid's best friend be a 20-year-old. For sure, there's my child this summer, Ellie's best friend was a college-age guy. And, didn't do that on purpose, but like she, now I will say, I'm super thankful that she's looking up to people that are godly influences and good examples. But at the same time, they do pick up on things that are very mature for their age. So definitely at the end of the summer, we kind of have to take a step back and regroup and, but I'm so thankful that we have so many people here that are opportunities for me through my kids' opportunities, because the people that my kids connect with are people that I get to connect with. And as a stay-at-home mom, sometimes the opportunities are limited for me. So to have those opportunities right around the corner is really a huge blessing and an advantage for sure.
Really neat.
Ever since my first summer as a summer staffer in 2022, I have totally noticed the social skills that camp has developed in your girls, and even like the CISC girls. They are great at just talking to random people. I feel like that's a huge pro too.
Well, we did have to train that, I will say. We actually have a friend who was summer staff a few years ago, who he always says he was the catalyst for Ellie getting in trouble because she wouldn't say hi to him. And every time we've seen him since, he always feels bad because he's like, I know Ellie got in trouble that one time because she wouldn't say hi, and Erik had to take her aside and talk to her about it. And I always say, that's okay, because she needed to be trained that, you have to be respectful to people and you have to be polite. And really that was when she was probably 2. She was very small. And I just happen to believe that, kids are never too young to train. And so we just kind of took the perspective of, we want even our toddlers to be, like you kind of said earlier, to be nice people to be around. We don't want to wait until they're 7 or 8 for the people to enjoy their company. And that requires a lot of work. And I'm super thankful for God's grace on that, because Ellie is a definite picture of the Lord's work in spite of our weakness, because she is very determined and she's very stubborn. But the Lord has softened her in a way that's been very beautiful to see. And this summer, we never had to tell her, okay, you're going to have to get a spanking because you didn't say hi to so-and-so. We never had to do that because she was very polite and respectful. And that really is a testimony to the Lord's grace and her father's consistency. But I'm really thankful for that, for sure.
It is so encouraging to be surrounded by so many moms here at camp that have been faithful in raising their kids well and can be a great example to us younger couples who one day will be raising a family. It just shows me that it is possible, and it's possible to follow the Lord in that way. It is a lot of hard work, though.
Well, I think I've had the opportunity to do that too. I always say that my kids are the second generation camp kids because I've gotten to have the opportunity to see the kids of Amy Bill and of Amy Herbster and of Sarah Graham and Joy Keck, who all have teenagers or adults now. And I look at their model and I'm like, I want that. When I have teenagers, I want to have a good relationship with my teenagers.
Right.
And from their example, I believe that starts like now.
Yep. It doesn't happen by chance.
No, it does not happen by chance. I want to cultivate a relationship where my kids will be willing to come to me when they're teenagers and just talk with me.
Yeah.
And I've learned kind of from their example how I want to do it. And so that's another benefit of living in close proximity and being able to watch the lives of other camp families that are older and wiser than you. I think that's a huge advantage.
I'm super thankful for you and Erik. I definitely look up to you as a younger sister and you just being faithful. I mean, even despite the pain of losing children, you've continued to love the Lord through that. And it's just really sweet to watch you parent and love on your girls. And it's just a blessing. So super thankful for you.
Well, I'm so thankful to be here, and I'm so thankful that you live here too. Even though I don't say live because you're only really here like 15% of the time. But my girls are blessed to have a lot of people to look up to, and they always look forward to you guys coming home. I'm so thankful for that.
Well, I just want to close with this, Alyson. For our listeners' sake, fun fact, Alyson does a lot of fun snacks and food preparation behind the scenes here at camp. A lot of you sponsors will know that during sponsor reception, she and Ashley prepare that every year and do a great job preparing a theme and doing a great job with that. As for ladies retreat, she always does a snack night for the ladies. Some of you may remember that. I think snacks are kind of part of your love language, Alyson.
Absolutely.
100%.
Absolutely. Yes. I'm a snack fanatic for sure.
Even as a stay-at-home mom, Alyson is very involved reaching out to the other camp moms, to the summer staff during the summer, and we love having her here at camp. She even recently has started arranging some music for SMS. So go check that out on our website.
And she's working on a choral piece as well for this new year. So,
well, thank you so much for taking the time with us today, Alyson.
Thank you so much.
We hope that you enjoyed today's episode of Friday Focus, presented by the Walk Talks podcast. Make your plans to join us next week for another set of podcast episodes that will encourage you in your walk with the Lord Jesus Christ.